I've always loved army men. When I was younger, I loved to set up at least 100 army men around my room, putting them on shelves and tables and pretending my room was a battlefield for tiny plastic men. A long time ago, I got Men RTS for the GameCube. As it states in the title, it was a strategy game set in real time with army men. Me and my dad played the game to near completion, but we got to a level where you had to escort some villagers, and we gave up. While we never did finish the game, I remember having an absolute blast with it. Years later, I decided to look up the game on Steam to see if it had any ports to PC. And lo and behold, there it was, sitting at $5.99. So I picked it up and played it again. Does it still hold up today? Let's find out. The entire game takes place in and around a house in which Tan have taken over. Sarge and the gang are tasked with taking the house back and defeating the Tan leader, a green gone rogue. Already the story seems exactly like the kind of story you'd expect from an Army Men game. Simple and straight to the point. You're green and you kill Tan. There's nothing more to it, and there doesn't need to be either. Each time you start a mission, you're given a couple of heroes, who are essentially the protagonists of the story. If a hero dies, they're gone for the whole mission, but they come back in the next one. Heroes are unique units that are really powerful, but can't be created through the barracks. Before each mission, you'll get tiny bits of dialogue that help flesh out the characters. Again, not really anything crazy, but I played this game for the army men, and not for the story. In terms of setting, like I said before, the game takes place in a house. This is where the game really excels. Battles can take place on a kitchen counter, in the backyard, or in a basement, and you won't just fight Tan. In the basement level, for example, you'll be chased by ants, and you only have a certain amount of time to escape before you lose. Later on, you'll even meet the Ant Queen, whom you can free to stop her attacks. Levels aren't always just kill everyone. Sometimes you get another objective, like taking out air turrets so you can get a lift from the kitchen floor to the counter. Even in the base building and unit making, the developers made sure to be as creative as possible. For example, the HQ building is just a soda can cut in half, or the place where the resources are stored is just a blender with plastic in it. In terms of units, most are just straight up tanks or cars, but some of them, like the kamikaze bomber, is a toy robot with a firework strapped to his back. Or the sniper, who uses a small twig as camouflage. On top of all this, the two resources in the game are, of course, plastic and electricity. You can get it by sucking out with a certain type of vehicle. Basically, if you own any army man, you better hide your remotes and dolls, or else they might get the suck. Graphically, I'd say it looks a little bit dated, but it still holds up. Some models definitely look a bit blocky, and some of the textures are low res. But as for getting it to run on modern hardware, I had no issues running the game on Windows 10, so it gets a pass there. Easily the weakest part of the game, however, is the AI. Since this game is from 2002, a little bit of a dated feeling is expected, but the AI is especially bad. Sometimes certain units want to take the same path as each other, and rather than go around each other in the vast open space, they run into each other and take a few seconds before actually going around. And sometimes they try to go around each other in the same way, and then they just keep getting stuck. It's like when you meet someone in a hallway, but instead of going around them, you both accidentally go left like you're playing some kind of weird version of hallway football. Also, when moving a large group of units, it feels like they all need a lot of space around them for no reason. If two units get too close, they feel like they need to back up from each other. I don't know if there's a case of the Black Plague going on and everyone's trying to keep their distance, but man, it gets really annoying. Units don't move nearly as efficiently as they could, and it slows down movement heavily. Occasionally, units also just move in a straight line, despite there being plenty of space to move. Apart from the movement issues, the AI is alright. It's definitely bad by today's standards, and even by 2002 standards, still isn't great, but it's not game-breaking. It just feels like it could have used some polish, and could have sped up the game's pace as a whole if it was done right. The second issue I have with the game is the length. There are only 12 story missions in the game, and they are probably only about an hour or two each. While there's great battles, that feels more like an extra thing rather than something you'd include as the main game. Overall, I'd say completing the game will probably only take about 15 hours or so. But at the same time, the game's only $5.99, so I'd say it's worth it. My final issue with the game, and probably the most minor, is the multiplayer. Believe it or not, this game has online multiplayer, and even more shocking is that a small amount of people still play it. On Game Ranger, there's usually at least 1 or 2 games going on. Sure, not a lot, but for a game that's pretty unknown and it came out 2 decades ago, what more could you want? I guess it's because people have been playing it for a long time, but the multiplayer doesn't really feel like the main game at all to me. People will just spam out 30 barracks to get 1,000,000 units built, and it sort of feels like the game wasn't balanced at all for multiplayer, because it's nothing like the story mode. But again, this is a minor complaint, as I wasn't expecting it to have any online multiplayer, and especially for there to be any players. In conclusion, despite its flaws, I really enjoy this game. You might not love it like I do, but this game easily makes my top 5 games of all time. From the memories on GameCube to playing it today, I still enjoy it. I've completed the story mode a couple times over and it held up. Especially considering the price, give this gem a shot. It's worth it.